So I'm live, and I wasn't entirely prepared to be live, but I'm testing some stuff today, including the Elgato Cam Link, which allows me to use my actual good cameras with an HDMI signal and stream instead of having to stream from like an iPhone or a built-in webcam or something like that. But I wanted to take a second and debrief from Florida a little bit, and there's tons of notes. Like I said, I took over 10 pages of notes on the flight home about what gear to bring, what changes to make, how to travel better, all sorts of things. This whole trip, I just went to film, and I had no agenda, really, and I think that's the first thing. So last night, I stayed up, and with the help of Jesse, kind of helping my idea come back, I finished the video that I really wanted to make, this sort of follow your dreams. I called it Build a Door, based off the Milton Berle quote of, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. And it was tough because I came up with the beginning of that idea, and I sort of filmed this line that I had written in Florida, but looking back at it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and it wasn't finished. And so I come back from the trip, and I'm starting to edit, and I just was left in this situation of like, I don't have anything. I don't have what I want to film. I don't have the lines I should have had. And so obviously the first takeaway is to plan a little more thoroughly. And not just planning sort of what I want to shoot, but what do the final videos look like? And I approached it, this is my first trip to go and just shoot for the sake of shooting. And I did it in a way that was, again, naive. I did it in a way where I was like, I'm gonna show up, find cool stuff to film, and we'll figure it out later. And because of that, I was left in this situation where now I'm trying to put together this video that sort of describes it. And I like the vlogs, but if you're familiar with my channel at all, I can be a bit long-winded. And when I'm trying to make this concise, like, you know, put a button on what this whole experience was and what's next, it's difficult because all of the footage that I captured, I didn't bother to capture anything that was anything that would be a good fit for this video. And so I was left to do a voiceover, and I am obviously going to criticize every move like that as I listen to myself again and again. And so it was an interesting situation to be in. And I'm left with saying, the next time I do this, I want to know what my takeaway is. And while that may change while I'm there, and I want to be open to that changing, I don't want to go in just sort of blind and like, well, we'll figure this out. And the reason I went into it that way was because my only other experience really traveling and not shooting in like a controlled, like I travel and shoot, you know, corporate things here and there and interviews and stuff in a controlled setting where it's very scripted and unadventurous. But my only other experience like traveling and shooting has been vacation, where in hindsight the video that you create is a retrospect of that, and it becomes very vloggy. It tells its own story just with what you do. And so to do it this way was interesting because I needed to know what I wanted to say before I got there. And that took me a little bit of time. So as I do my next trips in this same vein, there's a lot that I need to learn and a lot that I need to plan to make sure that I get the shots that I want. And as specific as writing a shot list and putting it out there is going to be a big part of having more success with these sort of trips in the future. And then the other big thing that I noticed as I've gotten deeper into color correction and things like that, not things like that, as I've gotten deeper into just color correction and really messing with it and trying to shoot in flatter profiles and shape it later in post, exposure is so important. And when you shoot in like a generalized, like a non-color profile, just the standard, exposure is sort of forgiven a little bit by everything that's happening automatically. And when I want to have the control in post to really shape some of these clips, I need to make sure that my exposure is nailed down, and I didn't do that. First of all, knowing on your camera to keep your histograms open. If you've got a monitor, use false color to make sure you've got your exposure where you want it. But then the big mistake that I made, I forgot my ND filters, my neutral density filters, which are, they go on your lens if you're not acquainted. They go on your lens, and it's basically like sunglasses where it doesn't change the color or anything, it just makes less light come in. And so if you're shooting in bright sunlight, you put an ND filter on your lens, and that way it's not like so overloaded that you have to either close your aperture or speed up your shutter speed so fast that things get jittery and look like Saving Private Ryan or something. So bring ND filters. So I had to buy one while I was there, and I bought one for my main lens, the 24-70, but it meant that anytime I wanted to use my macro lens or my zoom lens or my wide lens, I didn't have an ND filter, and that will forever haunt me. That will forever haunt me as a regret of this trip. And so next time, I've added it to my checklist of gear that I pack, which I don't know why it wasn't on there before. Everything else is on there except ND filters, and I had to forget them once to remember them forever. So making sure that you're monitoring your exposure, that I'm monitoring my exposure using false color on a monitor or histograms in camera, and using ND filters is going to be really important, because again, when I've shot before, I'm shooting in more controlled settings, and when I'm run and gun out there where I'm in the shade, I'm in the sun, I'm in a building, you gotta adapt quickly because you don't want to miss a shot, you don't want to miss part of the story, but at the same time you don't have the time to like, okay, let's set this up, let's take 10 minutes, make sure we've got our lighting. And so it's about finding this balance between being properly set up and like thoughtfully configured and being fast to catch the story. And there's definitely a few clips in the vlogs where like I'm completely washed out, but what I said was important to the story, and so I had to keep that clip in. And in a vlog that works, but as I'm trying to like build this portfolio piece and show like what I'm capable of and like how gorgeous of a shot can I create, that's where this really starts to matter. And so I learned a lot, and there's more to come. This video was again mostly to test the Elgato Camlink with, I've got the Elgato Camlink plugged into my Sony a7S II with the 24-70 on it, and then I've got a Rode VideoMic Pro on a boom plugged into the H6 from Zoom, plugged in via USB into the computer, and I'm using OBS to run all of it. Thanks Craig Adams for the advice, and it's cool. I've got my Aperture 120D with the light dome on it here. I've got a little Studio Pro blue light pointing at the background. Oh, and I never turned my, I have a hair lamp. I don't know if that's gonna, it's too late now. But that's set up. Thanks if you watched this, cool. If you watched it live, let me know. I know I can like look over here and see if people are watching or commenting, but I'm not doing that. And so if you watched it live, let me know. And if you watch it later, also let me know. Thanks for hanging out. See you later.